Captain Lee So-jin walked through the long silver hallways of Harmony Point Station. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Behind her, 5 other humans followed in a neat line. They all wore dark blue uniforms with shiny gold buttons. Their faces were calm, but So-jin could feel the fear hiding underneath. The space station was huge. It floated in empty space between human worlds and alien worlds. Nobody owned it. It made it safe for peace talks. At least, that was what everyone hoped. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho walked beside So-jin. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent his whole life talking to people and solving problems with words instead of weapons. Today was the most important day of his career. Maybe the most important day for all humans. "How do you feel about this?" Kim asked Sajin quietly. Sajin looked ahead at the big doors they were walking toward. "I've done my job for 20 years, she said. "I have protected diplomats in 12 different systems, but this feels different." "It's different how?" "Usually the people we meet want to make deals. They want something from us, and we want something from them. These aliens... So-jin paused. "They act like they already won." Dr. Park Min-ho heard them talking. He was a thin man who studied alien cultures, carried a small computer that was full of information about the 5 alien species they were about to meet. "The Hegemony Coalition has never lost a war," he said. "In 300 years, they have conquered 47 different species." "Well," said Yoon Dae-hee from behind them. She was young and smart and could speak 12 alien languages. "There is always a first-time commander." Cho Jae-soon said nothing. He was the security chief. His job was to keep everyone safe. Well, he had read the reports. The aliens had ships that were bigger than human cities. They had weapons that could break planets in half. Keeping 5 humans safe seemed impossible if the aliens decided to attack. The doors opened with a soft sound. Cool air rushed out. The meeting room was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Sajin could barely see it. Giant windows showed the stars outside. But what made everyone stop walking was not the size of the room. It was the aliens. 5 different species sat around a table that was shaped like a circle. Each alien was huge compared to humans. The smallest one was still twice as tall as So-jin. The largest one looked like it could step on a human and not even notice. Prime Regent Forthok sat at the center. He belonged to a species that looked like giant insects. His head was covered in hard plates. His eyes were black and reflected light like mirrors. When he moved, his body made small clicking sounds. 2 long arms ended in hands that had 2 many fingers. Next to him sat War Chief Golden. Species looked like enormous lizards that walked on 2 legs. His skin was dark green with yellow spots. Sharp teeth filled his mouth. Teeth were yellow and moved independently of each other. One, I watched the humans, while the other, I looked around the room. The other 3 aliens were just as frightening. One looked like a giant spider with blue fur. Another was covered in gray skin and had tentacles instead of arms. The last one was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to change colors. "The young species arrives," said Prime Regent Forthok. His voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Please, sit down." The human table was much smaller. The chairs were low to the ground. It made the humans look up at the aliens like children looking up at adults. So-jin realized this was done on purpose. Ambassador Kim sat down first. The others followed. So-jin remained standing behind Kim's chair. This was her job. She was there to protect the ambassador, not to talk. "We are honored to meet with the Hegemony Coalition," Kim said. His voice was steady and polite. "War Chief." Golthan made a sound that might have been laughter. "Honored," he repeated. "How interesting." Prime Regent Forthok raised one of his many-fingered hands. "Let us speak plainly. Your species has fought well for 3 years. You have been ... surprising. Most young species surrender after 6 months. Humans have lasted much longer. We appreciate the compliment, Kim said carefully. It was not a compliment, the insect alien replied. It was an observation. Surprise is not the same as success. You have lost more ships than you have built. You have lost more worlds than you have defended. You have lost more people than you can replace. Dr. Park leaned forward slightly. Our population is actually growing despite the war losses. Silence. Vorthak's mandibles clicked together sharply. The young species will speak only when asked to speak. Sojin felt her muscles tense. She had been in many diplomatic meetings. She knew that insults were part of the game. But something about the way these aliens talked felt different. They were not trying to get a better deal. They were trying to make humans feel small. The spider-like alien spoke next. Its voice was high and musical. We have prepared terms for your surrender. They are generous terms, much more generous than we usually offer. Kim straightened in his chair. We came here to discuss peace, not surrender. Peace and surrender are the same thing, said War Chief Gulthon. Your species will have peace when it accepts its proper place. In what place is that? Kim asked Vorthak, gestured with multiple arms. Suddenly, pictures appeared in the air above the table. They showed human worlds, but they looked different. Instead of human cities, there were alien buildings. Instead of human ships in space, there were alien fleets. These are your worlds, as they will be, Vorthak explained. We will govern them. We will decide what happens on them. We will choose which humans are allowed to live there. More pictures appeared. These showed human children in strange schools, learning alien languages and alien ways of thinking. Your young will be educated properly, the tentacled alien said. They will learn to serve the hegemony. In 2 generations, they will not remember being human. Sojin watched Ambassador Kim's face. The older man was trying very hard to stay calm. His hands were folded on the table, but she could see his knuckles turning white. You are asking us to give up everything we are, Kim said quietly. We are not asking, Vorthak replied. We are telling. This is how it will be. Commander Cho shifted slightly behind Sojin. She knew what that meant. He had heard enough. His hand was moving slowly toward his weapon. And Sojin caught his eye and shook her head once. Not yet. The gray-skinned alien with tentacles spread some papers on the table. These documents contain all the details. Your military will be disbanded. Your leaders will be replaced with our governors. Your resources will be managed by our experts. For how long? Dr. Park asked. Forever, War Chief Gulton answered, his yellow eyes focused on Park. Did you think this was temporary? The room became very quiet. The only sounds were the soft humming of the station's engines and the clicking noises that Vorthak made when he breathed. The second day of talks started early. Captain Sojin woke up before sunrise, even though there was no real sunrise on the space station. She had not slept well. Her dreams were full of giant insect eyes and sharp alien teeth. She checked her messages first thing in the morning. There was nothing from Earth, nothing from the human colonies. This worried her. Usually, diplomatic missions received updates every few hours. The silence felt wrong. Ambassador Kim looked tired when they met for breakfast. Dr. Park sat with his computer open, reading alien cultural files. Commander Cho ate his food quickly and watched the doors. Yoon Da-hee stared at her communication device with a confused look. Any word from home? Kim asked quietly. Nothing, Da-hee replied. The communication channels have been quiet for 18 hours. That is not normal. Sojin felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Maybe the aliens are blocking our signals. Why would they do that? Park wondered. These are supposed to be peace talks. Commander Cho finished his food and pushed his plate away. Maybe they do not want us to know something. The meeting room looked the same as yesterday. The 5 alien representatives sat in their giant chairs around the circle table. The humans took their small seats and looked up at their enormous hosts. Prime Regent Vorthex's mandibles clicked as he watched them sit down. Today, we will discuss the details, Vorthok announced. His voice echoed in the large room. Yesterday, we gave you the basic terms. Today, you will learn exactly what your new lives will be like. War Chief Golden gestured with one of his clawed hands. New pictures appeared in the air above the table. These pictures showed human worlds, but they looked completely different now. The first picture showed a human city that Sojin recognized. It was New Seoul on the colony world of Haven, but in this picture, the human buildings were gone. Instead, there were tall alien structures that looked like metal trees. Aliens walked through the streets. There were no humans anywhere. Your cities will be rebuilt, Gulthan explained. Human architecture is primitive. We will replace it with proper buildings. Ambassador Kim leaned forward. Where are the humans in this picture? The useful ones will live in designated areas. Outside the city centers, the tentacled alien answered. The others will be relocated. Relocated? Where? Kim asked. The aliens looked at each other. Vorthex's mandibles clicked several times before he answered. That depends on their skills and their willingness to adapt. More pictures appeared. These showed human children, but they were dressed in alien clothing and speaking alien languages. Their faces looked blank and empty. Education will begin immediately for all humans under the age of 20, the spider-like alien said in its musical voice. They will learn proper thinking. They will learn proper behavior. In 10 years, they will be useful members of hegemony, society. Dr. Park's face turned pale. You are talking about brainwashing children. We're talking about education, Vorthok corrected. Human culture has made your species violent and unpredictable. We will teach them better ways. Okay. Sojin watched the pictures change. Okay. Now they showed human adults working in mines and factories. They all wore gray uniforms with numbers on them. Alien guards watched them work. Adult humans will contribute according to their abilities, War Chief Golthan continued. Your species is physically weak, but you can perform simple tasks. Mining, farming, basic manufacturing. You will be useful in these areas. What about human scientists, doctors, teachers? Kim asked. What about our leaders and thinkers? The gray-skinned alien with tentacles made a wet, laughing sound. Human science is centuries behind ours. Human medicine is primitive. Human teaching has created the problems we are now solving. These people will learn new jobs. Commander Cho's hand moved slightly toward his weapon. Sojin caught his eye and shook her head again. She was starting to understand his feelings. The pictures kept changing. Okay? They showed human families being separated. Children were taken to alien schools. Adults were sent to different work camps. Elderly humans were nowhere to be seen in any picture. Families will be reorganized for efficiency, Vorthok explained. Human emotional attachments often prevent proper work performance. We will create better social structures. Yuandahi spoke up for the first time. You are describing slavery. We are describing proper organization. The blue-furred spider. Alien replied, every species in the hegemony has its role. Humans will have their role too. And if we refuse? Ambassador Kim asked. Haida's voice was very quiet now. War Chief Golthan's yellow eyes focused on Kim. Look at the next pictures. The images in the air changed again. Now they showed human cities burning, human ships exploding in space, human colonies that looked empty and dead. This is what happened to the last species that refused our generous offer, Golthan said. The Kepler people were very proud. They thought they could fight us. Huh? They thought their independence was more important than their survival. "Where are the Kepler people now?" Dr. Park asked, though Sojin could tell he did not want to know the answer. "Gone," Vorthok said simply. "Completely gone. We gave them the same choice we are giving you. They chose poorly." The room became very quiet. Sojin could hear her own heartbeat. She could hear Ambassador Kim breathing slowly and carefully. "How long do we have to decide?" Kim asked. "The talks will continue for 3 more days," the tentacled alien announced. "On the 5th day, you will give us your answer. If you accept our terms, the transition will begin immediately. If you refuse," Kim prompted. "War Chief." Gul'dan smiled his terrible smile again. "Then we will demonstrate what happened to the Kepler people, starting with your home world." Sojin felt something cold and sharp in her chest. These aliens were not just threatening slavery. They were threatening complete extinction. The morning session ended with more pictures and more explanations. Every detail made the future sound worse for humanity. Humans would have no rights, no freedom, no culture, no families. They would exist only to serve their alien masters. During the break, the human delegation gathered in their small meeting room. Ambassador Kim sat down heavily in his chair. Dr. Park stared at his computer screen, but Sojin could tell he was not really reading anything. "This is not negotiation," Commander Cho said. "This is extortion." "It is worse than that," Yoon Da-hee added. "They are enjoying this. Did you see their faces when they showed us those pictures?" Sojin had noticed the same thing. The aliens seemed pleased when the humans looked shocked or afraid. They were not just delivering terms. They were trying to break human spirit. "There has to be another option," Dr. Park said hopefully. "Maybe we can find some middle ground." Ambassador Kim shook his head slowly. "I have been doing this for 30 years. I have never seen anything like this. They do not want to negotiate. They want us to surrender completely, or they want to destroy us. So what do we do?" Da-hee asked. Before anyone could answer, an alarm started beeping on Da-hee's communication device. She looked at the screen, and her face went white. "What is it?" Kim asked. Da-hee's voice was barely a whisper. "I am getting emergency signals from 3 human colonies. They are under attack." Commander Cho stood up quickly. "Under attack? By who?" He worked frantically with her device, trying to get more information. "The signals are very weak, but it looks like hegemony ships." Sojin felt the world tilt around her. "They are attacking human worlds while we sit here talking about peace." "That is impossible," Dr. Park said. "There are rules about neutral negotiations." Both sides agreed not to attack during the talks. Ambassador Kim's face was grim. Apparently, the hegemony has different ideas about rules. The afternoon session was scheduled to start in 1 hour, so Jean looked around at her companions. Ambassador Kim looked older than his years. Dr. Park looked confused and scared. Commander Cho looked angry. Yoon Da-hee looked like she might cry. "What do we do now?" Da-hee asked again. Sojin walked to the small window in their meeting room. Outside, she could see part of the hegemony fleet. The alien ships were huge and dark. They looked like metal predators, waiting to strike. "We go back in there," Sojin said finally. "We listen to more of their threats, and we figure out what they really want." "What do you think they—" Captain Sojin barely slept on the second night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw pictures of burning human colonies. She kept checking her communication device, hoping for news from Earth. The silence was getting worse. At 3 in the morning, she gave up trying to sleep. She walked through the quiet hallways of the space station. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Most of the station was dark. Only emergency lights showed her the way. She found herself at an observation deck. Through the large windows, she could see the hegemony fleet. The alien ships hung in space like sleeping monsters. There were so many of them. More than yesterday. Cannot sleep either, a voice said behind her. Sojin turned around. Commander Cho was standing in the doorway. He looked as tired as she felt. How many ships do you count? He asked, joining her at the window. Sojin looked out at the alien fleet again. More than 200. Maybe 300. Yesterday, there were only 50. They stood in silence for a few minutes, watching the alien ships. Sheaves. More ships arrived while they watched. Small lights moved between the larger vessels as alien shuttles carried supplies and personnel. They are preparing for something big, Cho observed. Yes, Sojin agreed. But preparing for what? When morning came, he had terrible news. She had been working all night, trying to contact human colonies and Earth. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking. I got through to New Busan colony, she reported. Barely. Their signal was very weak. Ambassador Kim sat down heavily. What did they say? Hegemony ships attacked them yesterday morning. Right when our talks were starting. Dahi's voice was shaky. They targeted civilian evacuation ships first, then they hit the defense stations. The colony administrator said they were hunting people like animals. Dr. Park put his head in his hands. How many people? New Busan had 4 million residents. He paused. The administrator thinks maybe 50,000 escaped. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Ambassador Kim spoke. What about the other colonies that sent emergency signals? I cannot reach them, Dahi admitted. Their signals stopped completely. Sojin felt a cold anger building in her chest. They are killing our people while we sit here listening to their peace terms. We have to confront them, Commander Cho said. We have to demand they stop the attacks. Of course we will, Kim agreed. But we must be careful. We anger them too much. They might attack Earth directly. Dr. Park looked up from his computer. I have been studying their behavior patterns. I think they want us to confront them. I think they want us to get angry and do something stupid. Why would they want that? Dahi asked. Because then they can say we broke the peace talks. They can say humans are too violent for diplomacy. It gives them an excuse to do whatever they want. Sojin walked to the window again. The alien fleet. What's even larger now? I think they already have their excuse. I think they never intended these talks to succeed. The third day of talks began like the others. The 5 alien representatives took their places at the giant table. The humans sat in their small chairs and looked up at their massive hosts. But today felt different. The aliens seemed more confident, more pleased with themselves. Prime Regent Vorthak's mandibles clicked as he spoke. Today, we will discuss the timeline for your transition to proper hegemony citizens. Ambassador Kim interrupted before Vorthak could continue. Before we discuss timelines, we need to address the attacks on human colonies. The aliens looked at each other. War Chief Gothan made his wet, laughing sound. What attacks? 3 human colonies have been attacked by hegemony forces, Kim said firmly. Tease violates the ceasefire agreement. There is no ceasefire agreement. The spider-like alien replied in its musical voice. There is only a temporary pause in military operations while we explain your options. Dr. Park leaned forward. You are attacking defenseless civilians while we sit here talking about peace. We are demonstrating the consequences of resistance, Vorthak explained calmly. Some of your colonies were still preparing for war. We helped them understand that resistance is futile. Commander Cho's hand moved toward his weapon. You are murdering innocent people. The tentacled alien made dismissive gestures with several arms. We are preventing unnecessary suffering. Quick surrender saves lives. Prolonged resistance only creates more casualties. He spoke up. The colony on New Busan surrendered immediately. Your ships attacked them anyway. New Busan was harboring military assets. War Chief Golton said. We removed those assets. You mean you killed 4 million people? Sojin said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone in the room heard her clearly. All 5 aliens turned to look at her. Prime Regent Vorthok's black eyes reflected the light from the windows. The security escort should not speak during negotiations. 4 million people, Sojin repeated, ignoring the alien's comment. War Chief Golthan's yellow eyes focused on her. 4 million people who chose to resist instead of surrender. Their deaths are on human hands, not ours. They surrendered, he said. The colony administrator sent surrender signals as soon as your ships appeared. Too late, the gray-skinned alien replied. By then, they had already committed hostile acts. Ambassador Kim's voice was tight with anger. What hostile acts? No, Busan was a farming colony. They had no military installations. They had humans. Gwelton answered simply. Humans are inherently hostile. Your very existence is a threat to galactic peace. Dr. Park stared at the alien. You are saying that being human is a hostile act? Exactly, Vortkay confirmed. Your species is unpredictable, violent, dangerous. The only way to ensure peace is to remove your ability to cause harm. So Jen felt something break inside her chest. These aliens were not just conquering humanity. They were enjoying it. They liked watching humans suffer. More pictures appeared in the air above the table. These showed the attack on New Busan colony. Sojin watched human ships trying to evacuate civilians. She watched hegemony fighters hunting those ships like predators chasing prey. She watched civilian transports exploding in bright flashes. This is what happens to colonies that hesitate, War Chief Golthan explained. This is what happens when humans think they can negotiate from a position of strength. The pictures changed. Now they showed human families running through burning streets, children crying for their parents, elderly people who could not run fast enough. Your colonists made poor choices, the blue-furred spider alien said. Could have accepted their new roles peacefully. Instead, they forced us to take stronger measures. Ambassador Kim was gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles were white. You are describing war crimes. We're describing education. Vorthok corrected. The other human colonies are learning from New Busan's mistake. Some of them are surrendering more quickly now. Other colonies? Dr. Park asked weakly. The tentacled alien gestured, and new pictures appeared. These showed attacks on 6 more human worlds. Sojin recognized some of them. Harmony Valley, New Tokyo, Haven Prime. All of them burning. All of them dying. We have been busy while you considered our generous offer, Golthan said. Your people are learning the cost of resistance. Yoon Tai was crying now. You are monsters. We are teachers, Vorthok replied. And you are learning. The aliens continued showing pictures of destroyed human colonies. They described the attacks in detail. They seemed proud of their efficiency. They talked about human casualties like they were discussing the weather. Sojin listened to War Chief Golthan describe how his ships had hunted human evacuation vessels. She listened to the spider alien explain how they had targeted schools and hospitals to maximize psychological impact. She listened to the tentacled alien calculate how many human children they had captured for their education programs. By our estimates, Vorthok concluded, you have lost approximately 30 million people in the last 3 days. This represents roughly 12% of your total colonial population. Ambassador Kim's face had turned gray. 30 million people. The number will continue to grow until you accept our terms, the gray-skinned alien explained. Every day you delay costs more human lives. You could stop this right now, Golthan added. Just say yes to our offer. Surrender completely. Killing will stop. Calm Dr. Park looked around the room desperately. There has to be another way. Some kind of compromise. There is no compromise, Vorthok said firmly. You surrender completely, or your species dies completely. Those are your only options, Kim. If we choose death, Ambassador Kim asked quietly. All 5 aliens seemed to smile at the same time, though their faces were too different to be sure. Then we will grant. The 4th morning came too soon. Captain Sojin woke up before dawn again, but this time she felt different. The anger in her chest had grown during the night. It was no longer cold and sharp. Now it was warm and steady, like a fire that would never go out. She looked out her small window at the alien fleet. There were even more ships now. The space around Harmony Point Station was full of dark metal shapes. They looked like a swarm of locusts preparing to devour everything in their path. But Sojin was not afraid anymore. Fear was for people who had something to lose. The aliens had already taken everything that mattered. Ambassador Kim looked terrible at breakfast. He had dark circles under his eyes. His hand shook when he picked up his coffee cup. Dr. Park stared at his food, but did not eat anything. Commander Cho sat with his back straight and his jaw clenched. Yuan Dehi had been crying again. Any word from Earth? Kim asked quietly. Dehi shook her head. All communication channels are blocked. The alien fleet is jamming everything. So we do not know if Earth is still safe, Dr. Park said. Earth has not been safe since this started, Commander Cho replied. We just did not want to admit it. Sojin finished her coffee and stood up. It is time to go. Sojin, Kim said softly. What are you going to do in there? She looked down at the older man. Ambassador Kim had spent his life believing that words could solve problems, that reasonable people could find reasonable solutions. The aliens had broken that belief into pieces. I am going to listen, Sojin said. And then I am going to decide what happens next. The meeting room looked the same. As always, the 5 alien representatives sat in their giant chairs around the circle table. But today they seemed even more pleased with themselves. Prime Regent Vorthak's mandibles clicked in what might have been alien laughter. The humans took their usual seats. Ambassador Kim sat with his shoulders slumped. Dr. Park kept his eyes on the table. Commander Cho watched the aliens with obvious hatred. Chun Dai wiped tears from her cheeks. Sojin stood behind Ambassador Kim's chair, as she had for the past 3 days. But today felt different. Today felt final. Well, said War Chief Gothan. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Have you made your decision? Ambassador Kim took a deep breath. We need more time. Time for what? The spider-like alien asked in its musical voice. Time to watch more of your colonies burn. Time to let more of your people die. You have had 3 days, the tentacled alien added. 3 days to accept the obvious truth. Your species cannot win this war. Prime Regent Vorthok gestured with multiple arms. New pictures appeared in the air above the table. These showed more human colonies under attack. More cities burning. More ships exploding in space. Last night, we visited 5 more of your worlds, Vorthok explained. The populations of these colonies have been reduced by 90%. The survivors have been prepared for transport to education facilities. Dr. Park looked up from the table. You mean concentration camps? We mean education facilities, the gray-skinned alien corrected. Your people will learn better ways of thinking. More pictures appeared. These showed human children in gray uniforms, standing in rows like soldiers. Their faces were blank and empty. They did not look like children anymore. You're young, adapt. Quickly, War Chief Gothan observed. In just 2 days, they have learned not to cry for their parents. In 1 week, they will forget their parents completely. Yun Dehi made a small sound of pain. Ambassador Kim closed his eyes. The process is very efficient. The blue-furred spider alien continued. We have perfected it over 300 years. 47 species have contributed to our understanding of proper mental adjustment. You are talking about torture, Commander Cho said through clenched teeth. We are talking about education, Vorthok replied calmly. Pain is an excellent teacher. Fear is an excellent motivator. Your children are learning both. The pictures changed again. Now they showed adult humans working in mines and factories. They all wore the same gray uniforms. They all had the same empty expressions. Alien guards watched them with weapons ready. Adult humans are less adaptable, the tentacled alien explained, but they can still be useful. Your species is weak, but you can perform simple labor. For how long? Dr. Park asked weakly. Until you die, Golden answered. But then your children will take your place. This cycle will continue until your species learns its proper role. Ambassador Kim opened his eyes. And what is our proper role? To serve, Vorthok said simply. To obey, to work, to die when we no longer need you. The room became very quiet. Sojin could hear the soft humming of the station's engines. She could hear her own heartbeat. She could hear Ambassador Kim breathing slowly and carefully. We need your answer now, the gray-skinned alien announced. Surrender completely, or watch your home world burn. Ambassador Kim looked down at his hands. They were folded on the table, but Sojin could see them trembling slightly. Kim began. He stopped speaking. His voice caught in his throat. Sojin realized that Ambassador Kim was about to surrender. He was about to give the aliens everything they wanted. That was when something inside Jean finally broke free. She stepped forward, away from her position behind Kim's chair. Every eye in the room turned to her. The 5 alien representatives looked annoyed that a mere security escort had moved without permission. Captain, Ambassador Kim said softly, "Please return to your position." But Sojin did not return to her position. Instead, she took another step forward. Then another Prime Regent Vorthok's mandibles clicked in irritation. The security escort will resume her proper place immediately. Sojin ignored him. She walked around a small human table until she was standing directly in front of the alien representatives. They towered over her like giant trees, but she did not feel small. "Sit down, War Chief," Golden growled. T's yellow eyes focused on her with predatory intensity. Sojin did not sit down. Instead, she did something that surprised everyone in the room, including herself. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a friendly smile. Tia was the kind of smile that a hunter makes when she realizes her prey has walked into a trap. Captain Sojin, Ambassador Kim said urgently, "What are you doing?" Sojin looked at the 5 alien representatives. They were all staring at her now with confusion and growing anger. They did not understand why this small human was not obeying their commands. "I am standing up," Sojin said simply. "We can see that," the spider-like alien replied. "Sit down immediately, or face the consequences," Sojin said. The word hung in the air like a challenge. The aliens looked at each other with surprise. In 3 days of negotiations, no human had simply said no to them. "No," Vorthok repeated slowly. "You refuse our command." "I refuse everything," Sojin said. Her voice was calm and steady. "I refuse your demands. I refuse your threats. I refuse your terms." War Chief Golden stood up from his giant chair. He was 3 times taller than Sojin, but she did not step back. "You refuse?" he said. "Even though your species faces extinction, especially because my species faces extinction," Sojin replied. Dr. Park was staring at her with amazement. Commander Cho had moved his hand to his weapon. Jun Dahi had stopped crying and was watching with wide eyes. "Captain," Ambassador Kim said quietly, "please think about what you are doing." Slujin turned to look at the older man. "I have been thinking, Ambassador. I have been thinking for 3 days." Do you want to know what I have been thinking about? Kim nodded, slowly. I have been thinking about how you taught me that diplomacy is about finding solutions that both sides can accept, Sojin said. But these aliens do not want solutions. They want submission. She turned back to face the alien representatives. I have been thinking about how Commander Cho taught me that security is about protecting people from harm, she continued. But we cannot protect anyone by giving these aliens what they want. Prime Regent Vorthak's mandibles clicked rapidly. You will sit down now, or we will make you sit down. I have been thinking about how Dr. Park taught me that understanding other cultures helps us find common ground. Sojin went on. War Chief Golden stared down at Captain Sojin with his yellow eyes. What mistake? He repeated. Sojin's smile never wavered. You studied human psychology for 3 years. You learned about our wars, our defeats, our surrenders. You thought. You understood what makes humans give up. Prime Regent Vorthak's mandibles clicked impatiently. We understand perfectly. Humans surrender when the cost becomes too high, when survival becomes impossible. That is where you made your first mistake, Sojin said calmly. Humans do not fight to survive. We fight because we choose to fight. Spider-like alien made a dismissive sound. Nonsense. All species fight for survival. No, Sojin replied. Some species fight for survival. Others fight for territory. Others fight for resources. Humans fight for something different. She looked around at her companions. Ambassador Kim was watching her with growing amazement. Dr. Park had straightened in his chair. Commander Cho's hand was no longer moving toward his weapon. Chundahi had stopped crying completely. Humans fight for hope, Sojin continued. And you cannot kill hope by killing people. You can only make it stronger. The tentacled alien waved several arms dismissively. Pretty words will not save your species. You are right, Sojin agreed. Words will not save us. But you made a second mistake. You assumed those burning colonies were defeats. War Chief Gothan's eyes narrowed. Colonies are destroyed. Millions of your people are dead. How is that not defeat? Sojin reached into her jacket and pulled out a small communication device. The aliens tensed, but she made no threatening moves. Yoon Dahi, Sojin said. Please send the message we prepared. Dahi looked confused. What message? The one we have been preparing for 3 days, Sojin said patiently. The one that will tell our people that the peace talks have failed. Understanding dawned on Dahi's face. She quickly worked with her communication equipment. Within seconds, she nodded to Sojin. Message sent. Dahi confirmed. Prime Regent Vorthak stood up from his giant chair. What message? What are you doing? Sojin looked up at the towering alien. I am telling you about your third mistake. Okay? You thought those colonies you attacked were full of helpless civilians. Okay. She pressed a button on her communication device. Suddenly, the air above the table filled with new pictures, but these pictures were not shown by the aliens. These came from human sources. The first picture showed New Busan colony, but instead of the burning wasteland the aliens had described, it showed empty buildings and vacant streets. New Busan colony had 4 million residents, Sojin explained. But when your ships arrived, they found empty cities. The evacuation had been completed 2 days earlier. War Chief Gothan's yellow eyes widened. Impossible. We detected massive population centers. You detected massive heat signatures and electronic activity, Dr. Park said, speaking for the first time in hours. We are very good at making empty buildings look occupied. More pictures appeared. These showed the other colonies that had supposedly been destroyed. All of them were empty. All of them had been evacuated before the attacks began. Your intelligence was 3 years out of date, Commander Cho added. We have been preparing for this war longer than you realized. The tentacled alien made angry gestures. Where are your people? Where did they go? Sojin's smile grew wider. That brings us to your fourth mistake. You assumed you knew where all the human colonies were located. New pictures filled the air. These showed solar systems that the aliens had never seen before. Hidden worlds with thriving human populations. Secret bases built inside asteroids and moons. For the last 3 years, while you were planning your invasion, we were building a second civilization, Sojin explained. Every family on every exposed colony was given a choice. Stay and fight, or evacuate to the hidden worlds. Most chose to evacuate, Ambassador Kim said. His voice was stronger now. The people who stayed behind were volunteers, military personnel, and civilians who wanted to help with the deception. Prime Regent Vorthex's mandibles clicked rapidly. How many people? Almost everyone, Yoon Dae answered. 95% of our colonial population is safe in systems you have never found. The gray-skinned alien stood up abruptly. This is impossible. Our intelligence networks are perfect. We know the location of every human world. You knew the location of every human world we wanted you to know about, Dr. Park corrected. The hidden colonies have been developing in secret for 50 years, long before you even knew humans existed. War Chief Gulfin slammed one of his clawed hands on the table. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. Even if this is true, your home world is still surrounded. Earth will burn. Sojin looked at her communication device. Speaking of Earth, you should check your fleet positions. The aliens quickly activated their own communication systems. For several minutes, they spoke in their various alien languages. Sojin could not understand the words, but she could hear the growing panic in their voices. Finally, Prime Regent Vorthok turned back to the humans. What have you done? We told you the truth, Sojin replied. Earth is surrounded by your fleet, but your fleet is surrounded by ours. She pressed another button on her device. The pictures above the table changed again. Now they showed the space around Earth from a different angle. The massive hegemony fleet was there, just as the aliens had said. But around the alien ships, previously invisible human vessels were becoming visible. Stealth technology, Commander Cho explained. Another development from our 3 years of preparation. Your ships have been surrounded for 6 hours. Q chest could not see our fleet. The spider-like alien made high-pitched sounds of distress. How many ships? More than yours, Sojin said simply. War Chief Gulfin activated his communication system again. He spoke rapidly in his own language, probably trying to contact his fleet commanders. After several minutes, he turned back to the humans with rage in his yellow eyes. Your ships are primitive, he snarled. Our technology is superior. Your technology is older, Dr. Park corrected. You have been using the same weapons and tactics for 300 years. We have been developing new ones, specifically to fight. More pictures appeared. These showed human ships using weapons the aliens had never seen. Beams of energy that could cut through alien armor like paper. Missiles that could track targets through hyperspace. Fighters that could appear and disappear at will. You studied our old wars, Ambassador Kim said. You learned how we fought 100 years ago, but humans never stop learning, never stop adapting, never stop improving. Prime Regent Vorthok was trying to contact other parts of the hegemony fleet, but his communications were being blocked. What are you doing to our signals? It's the same thing you did to ours, Yoon Dae, he answered. We are jamming your communications. The difference is, our jamming technology actually works. Sojin walked closer to the alien representatives. They were all standing now, towering over her like angry giants. But for the first time in 3 days, they looked uncertain. You made one final mistake, she said. The biggest mistake of all. What mistake? Vorthok demanded. She thought these Peace talks were about making us surrender, Sojin explained. But they were never about surrender. They were about giving us time. Time for what? War Chief Gulthan asked. Time to get our people to safety. Time to position our fleets. Time to prepare our counterattack. Time to let you gather all your ships in one place where we could surround them. The realization hit the aliens like a physical blow. The tentacled alien made sounds of distress. The spider-like alien backed away from the table. The gray-skinned alien activated every communication device it had, trying desperately to warn the hegemony fleet. You used us, Orthox said. You used these talks as a distraction. We used your arrogance against you, Sojin corrected. You were so sure you had already won that you never considered we might be planning to win. Ambassador Kim stood up from his chair. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who represented an entire species. The Hegemony Coalition has 48 hours to withdraw from all human territory, he announced. Q will also pay reparations for the war crimes committed against human civilians. Kia, you will release all prisoners taken during your attacks. Prime. Regent Orthox mandibles clicked in disbelief. You cannot be serious. You are demanding our surrender. We are offering you the same choice you offered us, Commander Cho replied. Surrender completely or face total war with a species that just proved you do not understand us at all. War Chief Gulthan snarled and reached for his weapon. But Sojin was faster. Her sidearm was in her hand and pointed at the alien before he could complete his draw. I would not recommend that, she said calmly. The alien froze with his hand on his weapon. You would not dare shoot in a diplomatic meeting. Sojin's smile returned.